You're listening to the Racer to Racer podcast presented by Race 92. Race 92 is a vintage-inspired racing apparel brand specializing in celebrating vintage race culture and adapting to motorsports today. Check out race92.com for all your racing merchandise needs. I'm your co-host, Aaron Mack, the other co-host you may have seen walking out of Barber Lounge 459 with a big old smile on his face. You probably see him at a dirt track. He is the one and only Mr. Scott Bowie.
What's up, Aaron?
Not much. How are you?
Doing good. I'm doing real good. Staying warm in the house. Had to turn the heat on. Unfortunately, it was chilly.
But hey, man, I know, we kind of here at Racer to Racer, we have to, have a special insurance policy taken out just to make sure that you are, kept comfortable and safe and clean and all, and all the above. And thanks to the good guys at Good Guys Heating and Cooling, we are able to at least guarantee at least two of those. So thank you. We're working on a sponsor to guarantee the third thing, but
well, it's hard to keep me clean. It really is.
But thanks to Good Guys Heating and Cooling, Scott Bowie is cool as an igloo in the summer and hot as a lava stone in the winter. And you too could be like Scott Bowie if you call Good Guys Heating and Cooling today.
That's right. Call them up. They'll take care of you.
And then after you're taken care of, go to Barber Lounge 459. And they will give you a nice haircut.
Your hair can look as fine as mine if you go to Barber Lounge 459.
It's like Jamie Lee Curtis's legs. Like we're gonna have to insure your hair up to like $1 million or whatever.
I thought you were gonna say you're gonna have to shave it.
No, we couldn't do that. We can't ruin perfection.
That's right.
So first off, our guest today is Mandee Pauch. For those who don't know, Mandee Pauch has a very successful YouTube channel. She's an entrepreneur. She's involved in many, many different things. It was just a great talk. Name her YouTube channel now. I know it's changed a little bit, but it's Dirt Track Untold. Yep.
Dirt Track Untold.
So her whole family races. And it was just a great talk, and I think everyone will enjoy it. Even if you don't really know who she is, I think we talk about a lot of different things that can apply to anything. So I definitely give it a listen, and I think everyone will enjoy. Very laid back, and she's just very energetic and just a fun person to talk to.
Yeah, she is, and like I said before, she grew up in a racing family. So if you grew up in a racing family around racing, she's very easy to identify with, and she's decided to make her living in auto racing, along with a few other things. She's a hustler. She's always, trying to monetize different things, and she's trying to make money through different resources. But she's figured out some ways to monetize her experience in racing, and her husband, Mike Mahane, great race car driver. Her brother, great race car driver, Billy Pauch Jr. Her father, Billy Pauch Sr., one of the all-time legends of the sport, especially in East Coast racing. But in general, he could race with anybody, anywhere, anytime. So it was incredibly enjoyable to talk with her in person, and really enjoyed it.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And next week we'll be releasing an interview with Dr. Terry Trammell. What he's done for the sport is really just monumental. Him and, Dr. Olvey, obviously, who we had on several months ago. Both of them are featured in Rapid Response, which is a documentary. And it's just, man, just what a great talk that was. We both had a lot of questions for him. A lot of stuff I've always wondered about, different safety aspects and stuff. And he's definitely the person to ask. He's a very intelligent individual. Makes me feel pretty stupid, to be completely honest with you.
I really enjoyed talking with him because just the way they approach what they do, and
Absolutely.
they approach it from several aspects, not just looking at it through one set of eyes. They they try to look at what I refer to as like a 360 view of it, and his main focus is always not only what's best for the racer, but if they can get back to racing, which is how they make their living, he
Mhm.
wants them to be able to do that. And he's obviously saved more than one career through surgery
Yeah,
and doing things that other
absolutely.
people told him you couldn't do.
Yeah,
And
he
go
talks
ahead.
about a lot of those circumstances, and really it's like you said, it's really amazing when you look at like just everything. There's so much stuff that goes behind the scenes with different things. I mean, different innovations, with the aero screen. I mean, it's all of this data and stuff that they're analyzing. The people, everyday people like me and you, we don't see it. And
Right.
you kind of get a little bit of an idea of kind of what's all goes on behind the scenes when it comes to that kind of stuff. And yeah, so he's not necessarily he's not practicing medicine anymore, but he's still involved kind of on as a contractor consulting basis with IndyCar, and just very intelligent individual, saved, like you said, saved lives, saved careers, helped make the sport, probably saved countless lives, some of the innovations that he's been involved with in the sport. And yeah, I mean, it's just, we're very thankful to have people like him and Dr. Olvey around in the sport for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, just, I mean, yeah, I mean, just, I mean, it's endless, really, the things that they've done. Like you said, you can't, it's hard to quantify because they've prevented so many things, as well as, saving, besides saving people's lives and careers, they've also prevented future injuries. And, um, man, and you can tell it's a real passion as well, that which is something that I just really respected, because it's obviously this is something that they do 24/7. Um,
Yeah.
and they will do it till probably they literally can't do it anymore.
Hmm.
And that's only because they love it so much, and only because they want to see it. Um, they want to see it be as safe as possible and be as innovative as possible. And he really gets into some different situations, different crashes, different drivers. So yeah, it's something that I just really enjoyed. And like I told him, I had a million more questions for him. We just obviously didn't have that kind of time, and I could sit and listen to him for hours.
Some of those questions are personal health questions. I'm just kidding.
No, there's some of them I
I'm
probably
just
do
kidding.
need to ask him off camera. That's for sure. Especially when it comes to concussions, I've had more than my fair share. But he no, he just a great guy and professional, as well as Dr. Olvey. And it's an honor to have them on the show.
Yeah. No, absolutely. Really enjoyed it. And like I said, stay tuned next week for that. Couple things before we get into recent racing news. So first off, thanks to everyone that came out. We said this before, to our first live show in McGilvery. So our second live show will be Tuesday, October 25th. I will make sure I got that date right, but I'm pretty sure I have it correct. Yep, Tuesday, October 25th. We're still working on a couple of guests for that. And then our last show of the year, I think, is going to be December 6th, but Tuesday, December 6th, don't hold us to it, but we're working on a lineup for that as well. So we will see. But yeah, Tuesday, December 6th is the plan for that one. That'll be the last show of the year. So just two more shows, and then we'll be at the end of the year, which is crazy to think. 2023. It's right around the corner.
Yeah, it is. I know you and I talked about this before. It's Chris Griffith's test is 2 weeks away, which that's kind of where like the season started last year. Like we went to the Chris Griffiths test, and I mean, it was just kind of nonstop after that. And although I don't think we're going this year, I don't think I'm going this year. But Yeah, it's crazy to think that the season's over and we still got a lot of months left till the season officially starts, but
Yeah,
we're getting closer.
absolutely. I've mentioned this before, but we will be getting some other go-kart videos out. We'll be planning some here in the next couple months, thanks to our good friends at Fast Times Indoor Karting. So if you are in the Indy area and you want to, get a good go-karting experience, please go check out our friends at Fast Times Indoor Karting. It's a workout. A good friend of the show, Mr. Jagger Jones, will attest that it is harder workout than driving a USF 2000 car. So if you want to get the racing experience, go to Fast Times. Even though it really doesn't compare to driving an actual Indy car, it's as close as you're going to probably get an Indy,
Well,
an indoor
it
karting
definitely
track.
it's definitely with the small size of the
Yeah.
track, and it's really gripped up. I mean, it is a workout. I didn't do it, so I have to take other people's words for it. But it is an absolute workout from by all all who have reported back, and it's just it's a fun place. It's not a giant facility, but you can actually have banquets there, I think, or
Yeah,
not banquets, like events, I should say,
they
and
do. They do a
things like
lot of
that.
stuff. Yeah, I know they have like members night. They used to. I think they still do. And where you pay a certain amount and you can basically run the carts all night. And then they've done endurance racing and stuff there. So yeah, I mean it's a lot of fun. I mean, a lot of IndyCar drivers have been there. We will be having some pro drivers there doing videos, so you'll be able to see what their fast times are, and you can see how you compare it to them. But Jagger Jones was our first one, and he was like top. I forget what he was. He would know, I think, but he
Yeah,
he was
yeah, he would
definitely
know.
like because he corrected us because you said his time, and he's like, nope, that wasn't the time.
Yeah, I forget. I do forget where he slotted in now. But it was no, it was a great time, and looking forward to more of those. And like you said, thanks to the people at Fast Times,
Yeah,
um, and like Aaron said, please go if you got some downtime, if you got some free time on the weekends, what have you, go up there and run them, man. Those things they're good carts. I mean, and they'll work you out.
yeah. Oh, absolutely. And then I will say November 11th and November 12th. We have mentioned this, but Grand King Racing will be hosting a live speaking event and book signing with Randy Lanier. Obviously, we've had Randy Lanier on the show. If you don't know who Randy Lanier is, he has a Netflix documentary about him, Need for Speed or Need for Weed, part of the Bat Sports series. He was also on Dale Jr. Download podcast. Um, just a great guy to talk to and just create one of the craziest stories in sports. And just yeah, so definitely if you're in the Indy area, and you're interested at all in racing or Randy's story, definitely check it out. I have it posted on our social media pages as well. If you go to Grant King Racing's Facebook, you'll see it on there. It reads out to us and we can point you in the right direction, and you can call and reserve a ticket and reserve a book. But I've read the book, Randy Lanier, Survival of the Fastest. Great book. So definitely check out the book. And if you're, like I said, if you're in the Indy area, please check out the event as well. I think everyone will really enjoy. I'm definitely looking forward to it. It'll be here before you know it.
Yeah, it's close. I mean, we're just at around a month away.
It's super close. And also special thanks to Racer Collect for kind of being with us from the beginning. Patrick came out to our first show at McGilvery, so we appreciate that. We'll definitely plan on actually doing some stuff with him at McGilvery's at some point, have him come on one of the episodes. And yeah, just a great guy. If you look for racing memorabilia, definitely go to racercollect.com. Has a lot of different stuff. He has deals with drivers for, racing for the race use stuff. So, it's coming directly from the driver, it's legit. So please check them out. And then racing news. I mean, there's not a whole lot, right? So Formula One was in Japan. And
rain race.
yeah. And I can't even talk right now. Max Verstappen won the race and the championship. And there's a funny video. Everyone's probably seen it, but he's in the green room or whatever you call it after winning the race. And due to some rules, some controversy with the rules, I don't know the full story. He didn't know that he had actually won the championship. And he was in that room and someone told him, there was like Jensen Button was like, you just won the championship. And he was like, really? I thought they were joking. And there's four, I think there's 4 races left. And he's already won the championship, which is just crazy. So it's really crazy how things have kind of changed the past couple of years in Formula One.
Yeah, it's 2 in a row now, and Red Bull's really been the team. I mean, no two ways about it. They've just been the absolute dominant team this year, and they just have raw speed when they need it. And Ferrari and Mercedes are just, if you got if Red Bull's number one, I would say you have 2A and 2B in Ferrari and Mercedes, and they just have got to figure out how to find some speed.
Yeah, and I saw there's some controversy with Red Bull F1 team, and I think Mercedes as well. Or no, I'm sorry. Red Bull and Aston Martin breached the F1 cost cap rules. So apparently they spent more. They have a limit. It's like 136 million or something. Apparently they both spent more than that last year. So I don't really know how. I know they're going to be fined in some capacity, but I don't know how exactly. But just I didn't even realize there was a cap on it.
Well, I knew there was a cap. I knew that was a cap, and I knew that was one thing that was causing some interest from people like Andretti. That that is one thing that intrigues them.
Yeah, sure.
But I don't know what the penalty is for that. And then you've got the Charlotte Roval, which the end of that was an absolute circus, I think is the best way to put it. Just a lot of spins at the end, a lot of crashes. Kyle Larson misses the cut line. He's out of the points still. He hasn't been great since early in the season. I mean, they've been hit and miss, but they haven't been great. And Chris Bell wins, and by winning, he got to go on. So he had fresh tires on it. There was the way the pit stops all ended up at the end. He had really good tires, and he had to survive a couple restarts, but he come away the winner.
Yeah, I didn't get to catch that race, but definitely, and Connor Daly and Marco both racing the Xfinity race.
So I didn't see Connor's name. I know he was supposed to. I didn't see his name in the final rundown. Sage Karam was in that same race. Marco crashed, I don't know, the last quarter of the race. Sage was fighting for a top 5 toward near the end, but he ended up 30th, so I don't know what happened. Allmendinger wins. Dinger has never lost an Xfinity race on the oval, or the Roval, excuse me. And he was in contention to win the Cup race, and it just didn't fall his way.
Well, I don't think there's really anything else as far as racing news, so we'll try to keep that a little short because we obviously have the Mandee Pauch interview. I think everyone will enjoy, like we said. And if you haven't liked or subscribed, please make sure you do so. Check us out on YouTube and also Apple Podcasts or Spotify or anywhere podcasts can be found. And I hope everyone enjoys and I hope everyone has a great week.
Take care, everybody.
Our guest today is a racing YouTuber, social media influencer, and entrepreneur, having a YouTube channel called Dirt Track Untold. We are joined by Mandee Pauch Mahaney. Mandee, thank you so much for having for coming on.
Oh, thank you. I'm thrilled that you guys even thought of me. So I'm excited to be here. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. So really, like, we focus on all types of racing, right? Like when we kind of started, we had a lot of IndyCar drivers, Indy 500 guys, but we've, Scott's background is focused more on dirt racing. more midget racing, but dirt racing nonetheless. So we've kind of tried to broaden our horizons a little bit. So talk a little bit about. I guess you're obviously this all started because of racing, right? Like what is your earliest memory of racing? I'm sure something to do with your dad.
Yeah, definitely. I would say my earliest was probably back at Flemington. Unfortunately, I missed the dirt era. I missed like the best part of it, some would say. But I would definitely say the fairs at Flemington, just the connections and the friendships we used to make there between Flemington and East Windsor. And then of course Williams Grove. Because at the time I was born in the early 90s. My dad was doing everything, like 3 days a weekend. So I was pretty much out of the womb. I was at the racetrack.
Yeah, that's the same story with me. First race I went to, I was roughly 6 weeks old, maybe 4 weeks old. Oddly enough, a rain out at Granite City, Illinois. Perfect way to start your racing career is at a rain out. Get you used to it right off the bat.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's funny because I was born in December. So my brother, who's 5 years older than me, was born in June. And I think my parents with the racing world were like, it's probably not the best idea to have a child in the middle of the busy season. So here I come in the off season. And I always remember seeing pictures on my dad's race car, like, it's a boy. And I'm like, well, it's a girl? And they're like, well, we weren't racing. I go, okay, I got gypped. Completely got gypped.
So what so have you done any racing at all? You've done some racing, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I dabbled. So let's see. I think I was 15 because you have to be at least 16 in New Jersey where we race weekly. You have to be at least 16 to race in New Jersey. So where to even start? I think it was my uncle, my dad's brother, Timmy. He raced enduro cars and was very, very successful at that. So at one point, my dad was basically like, we need to at least give you a shot and see if it's something that interests you and if you want to do it, really. Because, growing up, it was always my dad. And then my brother got busy with it. So I never really got a full try. So I did that. I won some races. I did some powder puff races in the modified. I did race. I raced at New Egypt. I've been at New Egypt, Big Diamond, and Grandview, and I loved it. But there's plenty of stories I can go off of with this, depending on what direction you guys want to go in. But I just found that I really enjoyed the social side, not like the partying. I mean, who doesn't like the parties? I always wish, side note, like I'm always completely jealous of the people tailgating at the races when we're pulling in with the hauler, getting ready to unload. I'm like, oh, just to have a beverage and sit and do nothing would be amazing. But besides the point, I really enjoyed the promotional side. And I figured, well, at the time, like if my dad and my brother are the ones, they're putting on the show. That's what puts people in the stands and the seats, right? I was like, if they can do that, how can I get more people to the tracks, right? So we need the drivers and then we need the promoters. And I never really anticipate like promoting the races, but trying to bring people in, if that makes sense, which is honestly everything I've just about done. And that's how we are here. Yeah.
I mean, obviously, one of the very first videos I saw of you was talking about your life as a kid. I forget the name of it. Like, you're a racing kid or something like that.
Yeah, I remember that one. Yep.
And it struck me so. I mean, it is really your life. I mean, that you really summed it up, and so I started watching your videos, and it is interesting when you try to find your place in the sport if you're not a driver.
Yep.
And if you're not a promoter and you're not a car owner, what was that process like? Because you went to college. When you went to school, did you already have in mind kind of where you wanted to be in the sport afterwards?
I just knew I wanted to be in racing. I always joke around and say my brother is my biggest supporter, my worst critic. And he always told me, he's like, you need to do something outside of racing. Like, you just need to do something outside, like, just in case, like a plan B. And I was like, I think you're nuts. I'm going to go to school for public relations, like learn how to promote and do that kind of stuff. And I mean, ever since I was young, I mean, I did go to school originally. I was like, if I can be a teacher, I'd have the weekends off and the summers off. So that works, right? Like, who doesn't think like that? And eventually I started working at a local racetrack. I was working our tire business. We used to sell tires at New Egypt Speedway. You know, I had a lot of eggs in different baskets and being really involved with racing. And at one point my brother was like, have you ever considered doing public relations? I was like, what is public relations? In college, I had not a dang clue. And that's what I graduated with. Ta-da. So I always knew it's what I grew up in. I never really understood people outside of racing, I mean, it's great that they can go off and they can do whatever they want on the weekends. At 29, I'm still doing the same thing every weekend. So it's what, at the end of the day, it's what raised me. It's what raised my family. It's going to raise my family one day, and it's made me who I am. And I just want to pay that forward to the sport.
Sure. You know, yeah, I think that's great. I'm a person who's been in it, been out of it, been in it, been out of it, but never fully out of it. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah.
I've owned cars. I had a speed shop for 20 years. And then I'd get regular job, get like a regular job, not like what I got now. I got like a regular job. And it is funny when you work amongst people who haven't been around auto racing. So you really realize very quickly how rare the mindset of, hey, this has to get done and this has to be done right.
Mm-hmm.
Have you really ever run across that, like, as you're working kind of in the normal world, let's say, where sometimes people just don't understand, they don't understand the urgency of things and the necessity of things have to be right.
Absolutely. Yeah. It's almost an everyday occurrence with us.
Yeah.
My husband races for a living, and it's funny because I was just talking to one of my girlfriends, and her boyfriend races, but like her boyfriend and herself both have, as my brother would call, he would call it a real job. I've straightened him out since then, because like any real job, you get paid, it's still a job, right? It's not a 9 to 5. It's more like a 7 to 11.
7 to 2 o'clock in the morning, maybe 3,
Yeah.
and then maybe you get 2 hours of sleep, maybe 5. It's not steady hours.
Realistically, it's a 24/7 gig in racing,
Right.
but it's what we love, it's what we know. And I sat down with my dad the other day, and he's like, when you think about it, how many hours we put in to this stuff, and we probably make like beyond less than minimum wage. I'm like, you know what, Dad, you're right, but it's what we do and it's what we love and it makes us happy. But a sense of urgency, always, always, always. Everyone's always asked me, like, how do I balance all that I balance? And I'm like, well, it's got to get done, right? It's got to get done. And especially with the YouTube videos, is I would love to be able to put more into them, but with the sense of urgency of, the race ended last night. People wanted the video as soon as the race was over. And that is really hard to compete with. So as like, with the algorithm and with YouTube, I have a few friends that do YouTube videos outside of racing, and they always say, like, let your videos sit, because behind the scenes, YouTube will figure out who to place it in front of, and like the SEO and all this fancy stuff. And I'm like, okay, well, I got to upload it like yesterday, right? So the sense of urgency of, this got to get done, it's got to get done now. Otherwise it's never going to happen. No one's going to care. And that was a waste. It's like, we didn't even race.
Right.
Even happen, right.
Right. You race on Friday, and by Sunday, you've already ran another 2 times, and people don't care about what happened on Friday.
Oh, absolutely. So I just recently started. I'm dabbling with it and seeing if it works. So as I'm sure you guys noticed, I'm only one person. So my brother lives in New Jersey. My husband and I are up here in New York. And like when my dad decides he wants to race on and off, but I can't be at the same, like 2 places at the same time. So what I started doing just this past like 2 weeks was I literally gave my 6-year-old nephew a phone and was like, hey, BP3, can you videotape dad when I'm not there? And it was the cutest little thing. But that's the thing is, I was in Jersey this past weekend and just 2 videos of my brother back to back. And everyone's like, well, where's your husband? Like he didn't race. It's not on here. Where is he? And I'm like, he raced. So I'm trying to cover both bases now.
Right.
Otherwise it's like, it didn't happen. If it's not on YouTube, it didn't happen. I'm like, geez, if you didn't take a picture, it didn't happen, guys.
What I will say this, man, and I probably watched 90% of the videos since I first found your channel. I will say that your nephew is pretty good at videoing. He's really kind of got it down. He really understands in his own way subject matter and
He
storyline a little bit and that sort of thing.
He is very impressive. I always say he is a sponge. He always in the race shop with his dad after school for at least 2 hours. And I mean, he's in 1st grade and
Right.
he loves YouTube, what little kid doesn't. And he's always watching, always paying attention. So when I bought him a used phone, right? So I gave him this phone and I was so impressed with the footage that he gathered because he, down to every little thing I do, he just duplicated it. But this time I was impressed. This was very interesting. He told me, he was like, he videotapes the heat race, right, from the grandstands. And he told me, he's like, hey, Mandee, when they went in the turn, I turned the phone like this and I followed them like he was trying to turn it with them. I was like, that's genius. Like,
Right.
I mean, obviously, looking at it from our perspective, it doesn't make a difference whatsoever. It might make you a little dizzy, but the concept that he just,
sure.
I would never tell him, but if racing doesn't cut it for him, he's got my job. He's hired. Absolutely.
We've had a couple other racing like YouTube people on. And from talking to other YouTube people, and I guess we kind of do YouTube too, but like it seems like everyone's first YouTube idea, it's never what they end up doing. Like, have you had different, like, has it progressed in different
Absolutely.
ways?
Absolutely. Yeah, it's like anything, it's all trial and error. So I started out, originally I started out, what led me to it was I was writing blogs for Dirt Track Digest and I was taking them through, it almost was like a diary. I was like, this is strange, but people really enjoyed me taking them through the day with them. And then one day my dad just handed me this like old school camcorder and was like, videotape. I was like, this is embarrassing. I'm going to carry this big chunky thing. I was like, seriously, Dad? Like, I just couldn't grasp it, but he was onto something. Believe it or not, he was onto something. And I started out, I wasn't doing any in-car footage. I was doing just behind the scenes. And then I was like, well, let's interview different people, interview drivers. And what actually led to being just the family was actually when COVID hit. Because I don't know how it was by you guys, but by us, we weren't allowed to leave our trailers when we were at the
Right.
racetrack. We were in the pits. We couldn't associate with the people next to us. And what I was doing was I was going around showing what other people were doing and leading up to that. And then all of a sudden COVID hits and people really enjoyed just us. Like then it brought the whole family feel of like the Pouches and the Mahaneys. And that kind of is what led me in that direction. A lot of trial and error, Aaron, like you asked, but I had an idea of what I wanted. Like what I show now was kind of what I was planning on doing all along, but I was like, no, people don't care about what we do and what we eat at McDonald's, but they really do. They really do. They like the highs and the lows. They like the drama. I've learned is that, I mean, it's a catch-22 because a lot of YouTubers will follow a lot of subscribers will follow other YouTubers because I don't want to say envious, but they get to see into a different point of view of a life they don't have, or they may not ever have, right? And I'm not saying mine is glorious by any means. I should definitely try not to push that. But people enjoy that kind of stuff. People really enjoy seeing that, like I said, the highs and lows, and making that connection and just vicariously living through you is basically what I'm getting at. So when I was interviewing different people and showing different stuff, they were like, you know what, I don't really care about it. And then we're showing when we blow a tire on the trailer or shop updates, like that's the stuff that people really enjoy.
So when you go to a track and you film, like how much planning like do you do ahead of time? Or is it something where you just, when you see something interesting, you just start filming?
Well, I have learned, like I said, a few of my other friends, unfortunately, that aren't into racing, they always tell me, they're like, go into the evening, like take your thumbnail pictures, go into the evening with kind of like a game plan of how the video is going to play out. And I'm over here like, we could win or we could crash, or it could be a really freaking mediocre night. So how do I plan that?
Right.
And so I've been trying to come up with new ideas to really gain people's interest, because I mean, it's like a regular Friday night race, as I'm sure both of you know, you're there, you practice, you hot lap, time trial, heat race, feature, you go home, right? But when you go, like we have this weekend, the Fauna 200, 53,000 to win, completely different playground, right? So people are going to have their eyes on that. It's going to be something different. Like you're not just putting fuel in the car and changing the gears. It's different, and people like the different stuff. But it's funny because luckily I have completely two different personalities. Well, three when my dad's in it. Like my brother, he's at the point, like he has the no, like F's given kind of attitude, but also he has sponsors, he has car owners, like he has to play in a level playing field, but also play the, like, I'm here, I win, I don't, like, we go home anyways, right? My husband, however, because my brother has, like, Scott, he has a real job. My brother has a real job.
Right.
my husband races for a living. So he is like this personality, like, don't bother me. Like, it's just love him dearly, but super dry sometimes. And then my father retired, so he doesn't give two shits, right? Like, he just does not care what he says. So I kind of have this of emotions that comes to the channel, which is great. But I always tell them, I'm like, you got to give me something good, right? Like, I see other YouTubers out there, they've got the personality, they've got like the I don't care what, but we definitely take an approach. We want to be respectful. We don't want to, like, with YouTube, people thrive on drama. Like, all of my top rated videos, my dad, we got set out, the cops kicked us out of the track one time. There was no altercation, there was no fight, it was on the track, and we got kicked out. And guess what? The views went up, right? Like, no one cares about a regular night. So I'm constantly like, okay, guys, like, can we throw something just like, can you give me something? Like, it's funny because I'm there at the end of the day. I'm there for them to win. My videos are just a bonus. But sometimes at the end of the night, I look at my brother, I look at my husband, I'm like, it sucks. I was like, gave me nothing, not a damn thing. So
started 12th, ran 8th, didn't touch anybody, ran green checker.
It's terrible. So, like, when I know it's going to be one of those nights, I try to just randomly talk about stuff, or like drip something in there, like something to interest them at all. Otherwise, it's like, title, just don't watch. Just go to that, moving
but
on.
That really is auto racing, though, right? I mean, you just never know. Like your friends are saying, you gotta go with the game plan. Well, there is no game plan. The game plan is whatever unfolds during that night. I mean,
Yeah.
that's really what it is. I mean, you can't predict any of it.
You can't, no, because I went a few weeks ago, I went with one of my friends that does YouTube videos, and he had a whole storyline planned out for the whole week. And I'm like, if only I could do that. It's
Right.
like a drop of a hat. Anything could happen. Anything could happen. So it's a lot. It's a learning curve with YouTube. Things are forever changing, but what definitely will never change is people just love the drama. And unfortunately, my family, we don't care for the drama. And I will say that it was this past Saturday night. Actually, I think this happened a few times this past year. Like I'll do like, clickbait. I'll clickbait a thumbnail. I'll do like, we're not here to make friends, and something dramatic happened. And afterwards I'll go up to the person and be like, I am so sorry. You are my clickbait for the week. So know that there's no bad intentions.
Right.
I'm just trying to get the views. And they're like, no, I understand. I'm like, okay, cool. Thanks.
That's funny.
And that actually was going to be my other question, was about, thumbnails being connected to video views, because thumbnails make a huge difference. I've noticed that. I mean, I think that's with everyone. A lot of other YouTubers, like Haley Deegan, for example. I mean, her thumbnails are meant for people to click on them. I mean, it's just with anyone, right?
Yes, absolutely. Oh, I am constantly, it comes down to thumbnails and it comes down to the title. And you can ask me, but I'm still trying to figure it out myself. I wish, as we were saying before, like there's no time to like breathe or come up for air. So I wish I had the time to sit down and study what other people are doing, but it's literally just me. I mean, it blew me away that I'm sure you guys know Hunt the Front, right?
Mm-hmm.
It blew me away how many people, I think it was Jason, I'm not really sure, there's so many of them. How many of them are involved in making these YouTube videos? Like the thumbnails, the creation, the just the help in general. And I'm like, it's just me.
Right.
I'm like, I don't, until my nephew is my free help, but he's a work in progress. So, but as far as thumbnails goes, it's like, I would love to sit down and just study it, study what is attracting people. I mean, there's programs out there, I know, that can help show you like, okay, this video performed better because X, Y, and Z. But like, do I have the time for that? No. So it's a guessing game. I've definitely been trying to filter out, but really it just comes down to the eye catching, whatever they see first, and the words that you use.
Right.
So I was always like, oh my God, something amazing happened, but it really didn't.
So let me ask you this, because I've noticed this with a few other people I've watched before, like Days with Jordan the Lion. He does a lot of go around, shows location type stuff. But what's interesting is when he bought a new house, it seemed like his views went through the roof as he was doing the rework around his house. And like for yourself, I know like you've shown some of your vacations and that. Do your vacation videos seem to almost outpace your racing videos, or is it the other way?
Well, women in bikinis help, just so you guys know.
They do.
So if we're gonna do a thumbnail,
That's the thing with thumbnail, right?
Right.
Now when I see this and I'm gonna see a thumbnail, I'm like, damn them. It's so interesting because it's like the whole concept, which we talked about, of my YouTube channel is, it's not so much building my family, which it's obviously a huge bonus, but it's showing people all that is entailed in racing and all the behind the scenes, because fans just go to the stands, they have a couple beverages, they have their cheese fries and their pizza, and they watch the races and they go home. And that's great, but I want them to realize all of it. Right. And I love that. But it's crap. Scott, I just lost your question. Welcome.
No, we were just talking about like when you show you like your vacation videos and that sort of thing.
That was it. Thank you. I'm going to be the entertainment tonight because I was just like, he had a really good question. That's what it was. Dirt Track Untold. I enjoy showing our vacation videos because people see us at the races all the time and they're like, well, what is life like outside of racing? And it happens maybe once a year if we're lucky. But for me to go and say, hey, we went to Jamaica and this is a dirt track racing channel,
Right.
So for me, that is a hurdle I'm mentally trying to get over because originally you guys might have noticed, but because I rebranded the channel this year to Dirt Track Untold because I got married in January and I thought, well, I'm not just Mandee Pauch anymore, right? I have a husband now. So I tried making it so it's the whole fam bam. So my nephew, they can do videos and I don't need to be physically seen, right? So the videos definitely do a lot better. I will have to test that out this winter because I have some ideas planned, but it's really at the end of the day, it's a family channel and we do outside stuff outside of racing. I just never seem to think people would be interested, but funny enough, you are right, Scott. They are.
Yeah, I think that is a really interesting dynamic of it that I would never find interesting myself, right? Like a day in the life of Scott Bowie is not an interesting experience for anyone except for maybe Aaron, who's got to deal with me from time to time.
I had that conversation with my dad last night about doing a day in the life. I'm not even joking. That's funny.
Man, it is not interesting, but for some people, especially I think with your family who has success in the sport and has had long-term success, I think that really helps as well because people are interested, I think, in what life is like within the Pouch family. Because there is a dynamic there. You have your dad and your brother, obviously, and of course you have BP3, which I assume will start racing shortly, or he's probably already doing some stuff in a yard card or something.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So those things, I think people will find all that interesting. But it's just yeah, I don't know. Like something I found interesting is probably the trials and tribulations of it, because that's what mostly auto racing is. It's the overcoming of the obstacles, whether it's at the track or getting to the track. And like when you guys blew out that steer tire and it blew that fender off, I mean that had to be scary.
That was scary. Very scary.
I mean,
yeah.
No, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, I was gonna say Mike and I were sitting in the back and our one crew guy was driving. Mike looks at me, I look at him, and all I see is like we're going straight towards the guardrail. I'm like, is it? I was like, I'm dying in a race car trailer. I was like, this is the end of my life. But yeah, but you're right. It's another part of it. But really that's the untold stuff that people don't get to see. So you're spot on. Because I actually I have a video going, one of the videos. So I'm testing you're hearing it here. I'm testing out different stuff. And I actually scheduled a video that's going to drop next week of my nephew and I playing around with a drone. And let me tell you what, we lost that thing. I was like, we had it for like 30 minutes and it was gone. And just to test out the errors, test out YouTube and, people that it's really just cross promoting things, right? Like I hate saying it because it's just in my mind is I feel like a lot of other YouTubers out there, which is amazing. And I'm super excited more people are doing it. But a lot of other people are having a lot more success because no one knows what mud turtles are in the Northeast. No one's YouTubing big block modifieds, right? So I need to find a way to tap into the other markets and by showing other stuff that we do than just modifieds. Like my brother jumped in a sprint car in Kutztown a few weeks ago and the video went amazing because it's a sprint car, right? Like we are this big in the whole pool of motorsports. So it's just finding different ways to introduce people.
I've always
Now,
found I always liked the big block modifieds. Ever since I was a kid, obviously we don't have them around here, but my dad worked at Grant Keen's in the early '80s, and they built a few. They didn't build a ton of them, but they built a few for some of the people out east. And I just really got interested in them. Then, of course, reading Speed Sport, I'd kind of follow them at that time, and that's a series that I've always enjoyed. And I don't understand why more people more people around here don't get into them more.
Mhm. Your question is as good as mine. There are, we do have some series that are, trying to expand us. I think my brother's doing Louisiana at the end of this year. Like we're getting out there, not like we should be out there, but
Right.
I definitely have faith, over time, at least there are people committed, like promoters committed to trying to grow us, which would definitely be huge.
Yeah, I find them. I really like them better than I like the dirt lane models. Nothing against dirt lane models. I'm just not that big a fan. But I
And yet,
really enjoy. I'm sorry.
I said, and yet they're like the biggest thing out there.
Oh, they're massive. They I mean they dwarf everything really in the dirt world.
Yeah.
so with with YouTube, like the big thing that happens now, and I mean mostly it's with females, right? But these people with YouTube channels, you try to find a balance of trying to show a lot and try not to show too much, because the problem is, this has happened with, I know, Haley Deegan and a couple other people. You get people showing up at your door trying to take you out and stuff like that. So how do you really navigate like a balance of not showing too much, not letting people feel too comfortable to where crazy stuff like that happens?
Well, it hasn't happened yet. Knock on wood. Let's hope it doesn't. You know what? I don't know. That's a really solid question. I mean, we definitely try to keep private enough as far as setup on the race car, right? Like,
Sure.
there are many things that I'm told, don't show this or show that. And it's so funny because, total side note, is sometimes I'm like, hey, Mike, you want to go over here and act like you're doing something, but you're really not doing it. So like the drivers that watch us think you did that and you did really well, and then they're going to do it. Did you pick that up, guys?
Did.
Like mentally, yeah, this is always all kinds of ideas because you don't want to give out your secrets, and it's our career, it's our livelihood, so we want to be successful at it. So to show people everything, it's like an open book, and that's kind of a hard great area for me, especially with YouTube stuff. Like I will have some friends, they'll come and they'll not YouTube, but they'll record videos and they send it to me. I'm like, well, they don't know the rules. They can't use that video. Like cut. Can't use. Thanks for trying though. But as far as like you were saying, I know Haley Deegan, I know some of my friends have had people show up, but really, no one knows where I live. I live in the Adirondacks. Good luck finding me up here. Okay. I am not on the radar up here. I have a PO box number, but you will never good luck. You'll never find me. But as far as like fan mail, all that stuff, it goes to my parents' race shop in Jersey. But really, my dad's mailbox at the race shop, it's a race car. So if you want to find us, you just look for the race car mailbox.
Sure.
So, however, it has been recently, we call it the Pauch compound now. Fun fact, my dad went and literally fenced in his entire property, like a huge deer fence, like I can't even climb up it. And it looks like Fort Knox. I always joke. So if people are going to be showing up, they're going to have to break in. Yeah.
Well, I think that's good. I have we're friends with Jagger Jones. Jagger was running in the ARCA series a few years ago when Deegan was running there, and I remember going to an autograph signing and just the people that were coming up to her. And I said they got to watch out, because some of these people are just, and the way they kind of do things, they are a little more open, a little more inviting for that type of thing. So And then she's of course had some incidences of people, a couple different ones of people showing up at, at her properties.
Mhm.
And that's, man, that's scary. I mean,
It is. It is. It's
you know,
it's
Lindsay James though even told us a story.
Yeah.
She had a stalker at Speedway in when she was a rookie.
yeah. Definitely is hard because I mean I know like my other business I have women who they have kids and they're afraid to just have their social media public. And I'm over
Sure.
here like, here's this and here's that, and we live here. It is a very fine line across. I don't know if I'll ever be as big as Haley Deegan, but there are a fair share of loose nuts out there. Is that a nice term?
That's a
Sure.
kind way of putting it.
Yeah. So it's funny because when I first started doing these videos about 2 years in, some of the crew guys were like, wow, Mandee, you really bring the crowd of people. I'm like, I can't help it. I mean, really, like people that have a real job or they're busy racing aren't watching our videos. So the people that can't race, can't go out and do what we're doing are the ones that are watching, right? So
Right.
you're not, I don't know, you definitely attract a certain breed, but I feel like that's in any sport. I know it's not just racing. God, I hope not. At least I don't think so.
So I had Robin, who I've been with for 30 years. She was friends with Brad Paisley for a while, and she went to an autograph signing, and this woman brought him lasagna, and she would go to several shows a year and bring him lasagna.
I hope no one ate it.
I don't know if they did or not, to be honest with you. I didn't ask, but so I mean, you just have that, right? You just have these people who want to be almost like part of your family.
Mm-hmm.
And on one hand, it's very endearing, but on the other hand, it's just not realistic, right? And you got to figure out how to walk that.
Yeah, I actually total 180 from this. I mean, we've definitely have had plenty of oddballs. Like a few weeks ago, oh, it was the weirdest thing. Was we're at a racetrack. I roll in a couple minutes after my husband. He because it took like freaking 40 minutes to just get into the pit, so he just drives the trailer and everyone's unloaded. I'm walking in. And there's this woman and her boyfriend, and this woman just sits on the back gate of our trailer. And I said, hi, right? And I just kept walking around. And I tried, my husband's like, you need to be nice to everyone. I'm like, okay, honey. So I'm nice to her. And they just would not shut up. They would not stop talking. And God bless if she watches this. Who knows? But she wouldn't stop talking. She starts making fun of my husband. And finally, I pull everyone, like our crew guys, to the side. I'm like, who are these people? Like, are they sponsors? Who are they? Like, because you don't know. Anyone could be somebody. And they're like, we have not a damn clue. I was like, and this woman is literally sitting in our trailer and no one knows who she is. And she's acting like she knows us. And I'm like, no, like that. I always try to tell people is the racetrack is work for us. It is work. You either talk to us before driver's meeting or you talk to us after the checkered falls. Like, do not bother us in between because like this is our work, right? This is what we do for a living. And so many people don't understand that. But what I was saying prior is the 180 is one of my best friends who ended up being in our wedding this year. She was literally just a fan in the stands a few years back, about 4 or 5 years ago. She was just a fan in the stands, would go to the races with her boyfriend. She would be so pissed off because her boyfriend would always watch my videos. She was furious with me. And I don't know what her method was, guys. She was so mad at me. So on the side, I sell nutrition products. And one day she's like, you know what? Screw this girl. And I'm going to try whatever this stuff is that she does. We became best friends. And she tells me this story. I was like, what? You hated me and you tried my products and you're in my wedding now? I was like, how does that work out?
That's
It's like
funny.
the amount of women that come up to me and they're like, yeah, we watch you when we sit down at dinner together at night, or I'll be cooking dinner and my husband's got you on TV. I'm like, I'm sorry, I am the other woman. At least it's safe because it's just through the TV screen, I think.
Right.
I
You
am.
know, that is so funny though, like how, like for someone like myself, I really do watch the videos because I just find it so because I recognize the life so much, so I find it fascinating. And I think Mike is a great driver. I wish Mike had a chance to run pavement. I think Mike would be an incredible pavement race car driver.
Yeah.
But I do. I really enjoy watching the videos. But I think that's funny, like when there's that kind of friction, right?
Absolutely. I've gotten better with it. Mike is still we were raised complete different ways. So the Pouch side of us is kind of like, all right, growing up with my dad, we're used to it, right? Like I've had beer cans thrown at us as a kid, right? Whereas Mike would sit in the stands at Fulton with his grandma, like, which is super sweet. But our personalities are completely different. Our like aspect of racing and the fans just raised completely different. So it's definitely that's why I said before, as my husband always tells me, I need to be nice, because he will stand there and talk to the wall if it makes the wall feel better, right? Like and he will be thrashing, trying to get something out, trying to get out on the track, and some fan comes up and wants to start talking about their dog. I kid you not, this happened. The guy had 3 dogs. Meanwhile, my husband's changing gears and we're late for the heat race. And Mike's like, and I go over there, I'm like, dude, you gotta go. I'm like, out now. I say it nicely. Again, my husband's like, you need to be a little bit nicer. And I'm like, yeah, but we're here to win races. We're not here to make friends.
Right.
But when you put yourself in the public eye, that's what you get.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And I think, and obviously I don't know Mike's real background. I kind of understand yours because your dad raced and was a professional race car driver and of the truest form, and you would race several times a week. And I don't know, did Mike have, like, was his family, or was it more of a hobby for them?
It was a hobby. Yeah. Mike's dad, I think he started when he was in his 30s. His dad started, and he raced like the New York circuit tracks, Fulton, Broden, maybe Fonda. And it was just a weekend thing for them. So it was more for fun. And so Mike, I believe, started racing when he was around 12, but he used to miss all the big races because they farmed for a living. So, we'd be going to like Super Dirt Week at Syracuse, and he'd have to be, doing the beans and the corn at home. So it was more of a hobby. So that can definitely be like a part 2 of this convo, because when we first started dating, I was you win or you didn't race. Like, we come to win. And he's like, oh, we come to have fun. I'm like, says you. That was a very hard hurdle to get over between the 2 of us. Very competitive over here, and he's just a very, very humble person. So
yeah, that has to be it's tough for both sides to understand, right?
mm-hmm.
Because I mean, that is how you guys put food on the table.
Mm-hmm.
And that's how you purchased your clothes and everything like that. Where Mike, that was the thing that they loved to do when they weren't farming. I mean, I'm not trying to generalize and speak for Mike, but and that is a weird thing. And like, say with your dad and brother with Mike, like, was it ever a thing where they couldn't understand where he was coming from sometimes, and they couldn't understand where he was coming from? Still
to this day, yeah. Sometimes I'll talk to my dad, my brother, and they kind of just look at me. I'm like, it's Mike, because my brother and my dad, I mean, every Sunday we would get breakfast together when we're down home, right? We get breakfast together and we talk. And oh my gosh, when my dad was still racing, my dad would call me Saturday night, say dad got second, Billy got fifth, and Mike got sixth. Oh, well, I won tonight, you know? And Mike's always like, why is it always gotta be a competition? I'm like, it's just what drives them. Like Mike, the competition doesn't drive him. He is a hands-on mechanical. He loves building the race car and driving it. My dad and my brother, they just want to win. They just want to win. That's it. All we do is win. And so it's definitely, we're still trying to figure out that. I'll let you know when we get there.
So let me ask you this. Do you hate losing more than you like to win?
Wait, do I hate losing more? Oh gosh,
Yeah.
I like winning. Losing, it happens. There's always going to be another race.
Okay. Because there's some people, man, they just can't take the, like the losing just eats them up.
Yeah.
And I always wonder, I always ask that question because, and we've had both answers,
Mhm.
but
No,
yeah.
I've definitely the humble part. I mean, prior to Mike, I probably would have said otherwise. He's brought me down a couple notches to appreciate wherever we finish. For the most part, I still want to win, but he definitely has helped me see that perspective of there's always going to be another race, but we come to win. We definitely come to win. But if we lose, it's a lesson learned, and there's a reason why the universe didn't want us to win, unfortunately. Literally, I don't know, Scott, if you watched my video from Saturday, Bridgeport, my brother goes in championship night.
I watched it.
Blows up, 2 laps to go. I mean, it would have been a tight chance of it happening, of him getting the points. And I was like, you know what? It wasn't meant to be ours. We move on. I did cry, but it's all part of it. There's reasons behind why we win, why we lose. You learn something, and it just makes you a better person. It makes you stronger, because then I really feel the losing makes the winning just that more humble. Because when you are winning, I mean, hate to say it and point out, total respect. I don't know if you guys, well, you might, Matt Shepard, like total respect for the guy, what he's built, amazing. Like he's been winning all the races this year. You see him get out of that car and he does a woo. Like he's winning too much that he's not like not that I'd expect him to be in tears, but you see Mike win and it's like a celebration till 2 a.m. Right? Like you see that one guy, I didn't say long enough, but like Mike Franz won at Bridgeport, and it been like, don't quote me on this, but like 20 years since he last won. That's a celebration. But when you got someone winning every week, it kind of blows the steam of, oh, okay, I just got another win. Okay, moving on. So it brings you back down to earth when you get the losses.
I agree. I absolutely agree.
So when you do, so I understand like the YouTube stuff is basically just you, but like in a typical night, like how many like cameras, like is it just like one camera or multiple, like we've done some videos lately, like we've done these go-kart videos where we race like former pro drivers. And the one I just did, I had like 10 cameras I had to sync together. And it's not fun to do that. It takes some time. Like, do you have multiple cameras, like stationary cameras you have to sync together? Or how does that work?
I've been doing the split screen. So if it's one car a night, say this weekend I'll be at Fonda with Mike, I have a GoPro facing forward, GoPro facing backward, and those two are the only ones I really need to sync. But when I have 2 cars or 3 cars out there, I try to have 2 cameras per car. And the syncing is horrendous. Aaron, I'm sure you can test that. It sucks. I'm like, okay, we got to time it perfectly, because they're not starting next to each other. So I can't be like, cut, paste, we're good. I got to be like, okay, when the yellow light comes on, when they pass a certain mark, because usually the yellow lights come on at the same time. So I fast forward to, okay, I see the yellow light on Mike. I cut here, and then, all right, I see the yellow light on Billy, and then I kind of splice them together. It's effort. I used to, before GoPros, I would get these videos done in like an hour. Now it takes me 3 hours. But yeah, so it's pretty much GoPros in the car and then literally just my phone. I mean, there are people that use GoPros as their footage throughout the whole night. I personally just don't like the mic on the GoPro because I've tried it and it picks up everything but me. I don't know why. But yeah, so and plus it's just so much easier having your phone because my phone's with me at all times. And like I said before, is the videos is the second like back burner when we're at the track. Like, yes, it's a bonus, but we're there to win. So I had a I don't know what it was called. It wasn't a tripod, but it was like a stabilizer handheld stick. Aaron, if you have any idea what I'm talking about.
A gimbal.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I had a gimbal. Badass. That thing was amazing. Looks so cool. Great quality.
They're a pain to use. It just takes up a lot of room and it's just a hassle.
We get a flat tire and here I am like lugging all my stuff trying to change the tire. And I'm like, no, I just put my phone in my pocket and I run, right? Like I don't have to worry about anything.
Sure.
Like, if I had a camera crew, hired. You can have all the camera equipment you want, but like I said, we're there mainly 100% just to race. So I try to keep it as simple as I possibly can.
I have a gimbal. I don't really use it. At first I'm like, oh, this is a great idea, but it's just a pain in the butt. Like we've done a lot of filming for like Jagger and to lug that around the track. I mean, same for you, right? It's a pain in the butt. I do some filming like in the woods. We'll get to that in a second. But to carry a gimbal out in the woods, like it's not practical. So I just like carrying a camera. It's a lot easier.
But I feel too is that the stability, yes, but just holding your phone, it just makes it more real. As long as you're not like your nephew doing this and making everyone seasick watching it and you're pretty steady with your hand, it just makes it more realistic. That's all.
I gotta ask. I've watched your videos long enough to know that you at times have had a pretty good GoPro budget.
Yeah.
How many GoPros do you think and cases do you think you went through?
I think I've lost in the 3 or 4 years I've been using GoPros. I think I have a graveyard in my basement, but like physically lost 4. And one track found it. It was I think it was Land of Legends. The guy called me 4 months after I lost it, 4 months after it sat out in the snow. And he's like, I'm going to mail this to you. I'm like, it's probably junk. Please throw it away. I was like, it made it through the winter. No. But cases, gosh, Bridgeport lately has been horrible for me. Like every time I go out there, just cracks the case. And I was actually talking to my brother about it I see it all the time. I don't know what you guys use, but I see people using just the skeleton cases that GoPro gives. Or, I think it's the 9 and the 10 have the tabs. So you don't even need a case for that. But that scares the living crap out of me. I would rather spend $20 to $30 on a plastic case and break the screen on that than the screen on the GoPro. And I know that there are screen protectors. Have you guys used the screen protectors?
I haven't. I have a GoPro right in front of me right now. This is the 7, but I've never I've put cases on them before. But I mean, we're not like for go-karts, we're going like 50 mile an hour, if even that. So it's not like you guys where you have dirt and rocks and everything else hitting the GoPro. So I don't think the risk. I mean, it'll probably happen to us at some point, but I don't think the risk is there like it is with you.
No. Sure. So I was telling my brother, I'm like, having the GoPro in the in a plastic container totally depletes the sound. It doesn't sound like a race car, right? It's not that crisp sound. And so that bothers me. But then I'm also like, well, I'd rather make sure I have my GoPro. So my dad actually, oh wait, hang on. I think I have my GoPros right next to me, but my dad went and built me. Oh, hang on. I've got this like 20-pound bag. My dad went and built me, which was amazing. If I have it, there we go. This on the case. So because
cool.
I mean, it's used and abused, but I was finding that the plastic tabs on like the cases that GoPro sells, as soon as a rock hits it, I was losing the cameras. So he went and built me this. Like he just cut apart the plastic case and made this outing. And this is what I put on the back of the cars because it's hefty duty, fantastic. So this has been a lifesaver, and I actually am telling him he needs to make more for me this winter because they're getting pretty used up. But since I've been using that, I haven't had as many problems, but definitely the cases, like, just
Yeah.
back. Yeah, that one's nothing. I have another damaged one here. It's a graveyard in here right now, so I have to fix them up. I just ordered some more and had another case. I was like, great. It's people. Thanks. I think Scott. Was it Scott or Aaron that asked that question? Because now you jinxed me, and I'm probably going to lose more.
Me.
It was
Thank you.
me.
Thank you. Yeah. It's usually what happens. You bring it to my attention, and then it's like, all right, we're just going to start losing GoPros. So
Well, I hope not.
no, me too. I've gone like Grandview. I lost one. But that's the thing too, is like you lose one, well, you lose a camera, but then you have no footage. The whole night it's gone. And I'm like, well, now what am I supposed to do? So when I'm in the stands, what I've been doing lately is I will do footage from my phone, and it's nothing fantastic. It's kind of honestly crappy. I would not want to watch it myself, but I do that as like a plan B in case I lose a camera, in case someone forgets to wipe the camera off. I've been training them well. They've been getting a lot better at it. But my husband, when he's like, well, I wasn't going forward, I'm like, you could still think of me and clean it, right? So yeah, thanks.
That's funny.
Yeah, like the
Yeah,
big. Sorry,
I was
go
going to
ahead.
say before I forget, Mesrel, I saw it, like one of his latest videos from Bloomington, where he had it. I don't know if it was the one he had that was showing his pedals, but it fell out. But the way it bounced up into the cushion, and you could see for like a few cars, you could see the cars coming at the camera
Wow.
until one of them either clipped it or hit it. But it was pretty cool footage, really.
Yeah. Yeah, I actually tried doing a footage like that. I had mounted it up by their feet. I think it was Mike. I did it up down by his feet, but in a modified, it's a closed cage. So like open wheel, there's more light. You can see what's going on in there. And my husband's cars are black as black can be on the inside. So it's like dark, dark, dark. So I've tried doing different footages and showing different angles, but I've with our shock people, I've mounted it on like front bumper and just like watching the traveling and stuff. Like that stuff's really cool, but I can't use that footage because it's a secret.
Right.
So it's just not a waste of time. It's valuable, but I can't put it on the channel. So yeah.
What you need to do is sell that to the team, which, you're selling it to yourself. You sell it to the team, say, hey, this is what this footage cost.
Yeah.
I got to be compensated for this.
My husband will tell me to take it out of my piggy bank.
So when I started really doing the go-kart videos, like I was trying to figure out kind of like what you're saying, like how to mount, because I wanted like to have like the helmet cam, right? And obviously like a lot of times the helmets are not our helmets, it's whatever the go-kart track is, and you can't just stick the mounts on it. So I actually found like these like mounts on eBay. They're like $4 and they go on like the chin, like part of the helmet, and they actually work absolutely perfect.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just learning how to mount cameras and stuff. It just takes time.
It does. And it's funny you said that because just Friday, my nephew goes, hey, Mandee, we should mount a camera on Dad's helmet. I was like, brilliant, but we have a roof. and your father is like 6'3". So go-karts, open wheels, sprint cars, like you can put up here, put it here, wherever. So I usually like to mount it right next to their head so you can see what they're looking at. Otherwise I don't, unless you mount it like on the side, but I'd rather just steady it right here.
Yeah, these go like right here on the helmet, and it's actually pretty good because it's pretty close to the eye level, and it's like level with where your eyes would be.
Okay.
I don't think like you would have to like stick something on for like you guys, because the problem with this is the visor can't go down all the way because of these straps are in the way. Which when you're doing go-karts going 40 mile an hour, it's not a big deal, but
that's gonna be an issue.
That would be a
That's
huge
gonna be an
issue for you
dirt.
guys. Big issue.
Yeah.
One thing I was going to ask about, so you were in this, you did a video, and I don't like, so you did the video with paranormal.
I just want to preface this before we get into this.
Here we go.
We're right in Aaron's wheelhouse right now. We're walking right into his wheelhouse.
Not exactly, not paranormal, but you did a paranormal video. So is that like, is that something that like you're into, or was that just you? And I forget the guy's name. I apologize that you did the video with.
CJ, it's funny because whatever you're just leading into, I was like, you didn't prep me on this, guys. I don't know what you're throwing at me.
Nothing crazy, just paranormal and Bigfoot, but we'll get there in a second. But paranormal. So you're into the so is that something you're into? Let me go back. Sorry, I was skipping around there a little bit. So you did the paranormal video. So that's like his channel, right? Like he does a paranormal YouTube channel.
So he is one of my fellow friends. Obviously, I don't know if you know, but so CJ Faison, he has been involved in racing for quite some time, and that's how I've known him for like maybe 10 years or so. And it's funny because he always tells me, he's like, yeah, I started doing YouTube after you, and he's got like 400,000 some subscribers, and I'm like, excuse you? You started after me? How dare you? But the thing is, exactly what I was referencing this whole time is he goes into these hospitals, these broken down places. We went to the Keys and went to a jail. Like he goes in like with an intention of, I want to see this. I want that to happen. We're going to go check this out. Like in a sense, a storyline, right? Like we went to the Keys and he was like, we're going to go check out all these different points. We're going to go here, there, and there. And all this stuff happens and it makes it exciting. But I've always been interested. Which I think we picked up on, is I don't have time to watch what other people are doing.
Sure.
I totally believe in it. Absolutely. I've been learning a lot more energy stuff, and told him like I would love to tap into it and see if it's something like I can work with. But I love it because it's something outside of racing. And I like it because I get to learn and see how he puts his videos together. Perfect example, he's had to change his number God knows how many times because someone leaks it and people show up at his house. But the things that he's been able to build just through YouTube just proves to me like, if this kid can do it, I can do it. I mean, his is a little bit more exciting with like ghosts and spirits and stuff happening than just race cars. And I told Mike when I came back from doing that trip with CJ, I was like, I think we need to like have a ghost show up somewhere. just make something fun, would you please? He was like, did you know that there's a ghost in turn 2 at Albany Saratoga Speedway? I was like, is there really though?
There's definitely haunted racetracks. I definitely hear stories about like ghosts. I live right by the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, and you hear a lot of stories about paranormal stuff. I mean, when you think about it, that track has been there since 1908 or whatever, and a lot of people have died at that track, unfortunately. Lots of really, really bad wrecks. So, really makes you wonder. You hear a lot of stories.
Absolutely, and I've told him that because we went and looked at when we first started a few years back, Harmony Speedway. Okay, Scott's like, yes, okay, like way back when. We went and checked out that place, but of course it's like private property, blah, 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 blah. So I wasn't really sure if we could post about it. But I told him, I was like, how cool would it be if we tied in my racing stuff, his paranormal stuff, and like you said, Aaron, going to those kinds of tracks, like Dale Jr. and the
Lost
gentleman.
Freeways.
Yes.
Matt Dillner. Yeah.
Yes, Matt Dillner. Yeah. Like that would be an amazing connection. And I mean, I don't know if we'll get the paranormal people to enjoy racing, like my goal to get them to racing, but it would definitely be an awesome door to open for people to be like, oh, what is this? They race in circles. That's kind of cool. Right?
So, and no, it's funny you say that, like finding the connection. And every time I bring this up, Scott's always laughing. I don't know why, but
I'm not saying anything.
Find out, just like finding the connection. So I mean, I have friends that are into the paranormal. I have a friend that's just like over 1,000 subscribers in YouTube and ghosts. I mean, paranormal stuff. So, and her YouTube channel is growing. But I mean, I've done some paranormal stuff, but I'm more into the Bigfoot thing. Which is why we were talking about that. So I do, I go out of the woods a lot and do Bigfoots. I don't even really bring this up to people because people look at you like you're nuts. And I don't really, I'm 29 years old. I really don't care what people think about me at this point. So, me and Scott always have that conversation about what people think about us, right? But yeah, and I've tried to find like a connection. Like I've done Bigfoot videos, I've done the YouTube Bigfoot thing a little bit, but I've found that our podcast stuff is starting to kind of take off more with this, and we're doing some other racing videos, like the go-kart videos. We're actually starting a YouTube like karting series. We have a partnership. We're going to have a partnership with the local indoor karting track. We're going to get a race like former Indy 500 drivers and stuff for the track, and film it. So that takes up a lot of time. So I haven't really been able to do the YouTube like Bigfoot stuff. But I still like do the Bigfoot thing. I just don't really film it. And it's funny. We've talked about like finding ways to connect. I shouldn't say we. I have connecting Bigfoot and racing together.
That's a tough bridge to gap. Or yeah.
I mean, it's like paranormal. I mean, it's similar. I mean, paranormal and Bigfoot, that's why I bring it up because it's very similar. A lot of people, for example, my friend she's got a YouTube channel for paranormal. She's started doing Bigfooting. Like there's a connection there. And some people think that Bigfoot's paranormal and all that. So it's very similar.
Yeah.
I will say, in all fairness to Aaron, I've actually had a couple of people who I've known for some time, who, when they found out Aaron was into that, they're asking all kinds of questions and that sort of thing. And I direct them to Aaron, and they can go out. Honey, I went once with Aaron because I'm a good co-host, but I think I'm still recovering from that. But no,
yes, he is.
I think it's it's what everybody's into, right?
But that's what I like about podcasts and these kinds of things is bringing on diverse people and finding out their different interests. And if you can make that connection, Aaron, like there's so many people out there that believe into that, believe in Bigfoot, believe in paranormal, and like racing. And it's, how do you make that connection? I'm not sure, but there's common interest. Definitely common interest.
Well, we've talked about a couple of things. I've joked about it, and there's a couple of people who are like, yeah, we would totally do that. Actually, Tanner Holmes, I'm sure you're familiar with Tanner Holmes, obviously has a big YouTube channel. He does like wing sprints. What does he do, Scott?
He runs wing sprint cars out on the West Coast. He's from Portland area.
And he was like, I would totally.
Yeah,
he was like, I would totally. He was like, I would totally do that. Like we're joking about doing like do a series like Bigfooting with racers. Like I don't think we ever get people to do that, but stuff like that. It would be like there's the one guy, Joey Malerno. I don't know how to say his last name.
Molinaro.
Molinaro. He does a segment Donuts with Racers. It's like the weird.
Yeah, I saw that recently. Yeah. I mean, I think it's taking people out of not just their comfort zone, but taking them out of their everyday habitat. Like that's when I went to the Keys, we did it's called Randonautica. I had not a damn clue what this even is. I go down the keys and I'm like, what am I doing? But the whole idea of this app, it like randomly generates spots that you're supposed to go to. You go with an intention, like you're going to find something, something's going to happen. And do you attract it or not? I don't know. That's up to you. But the whole idea of it is to take you out of your everyday normal life and put you in a situation you've never been in or a place you've never been to. And same thing with going Bigfoot hunting, right? Or there was a fancy word I think you used.
Bigfooting or squatching? I don't know. There's
Yeah.
multiple words.
Exactly. Whatever it is. But you're taking your different interests and you're putting people into different situations. So I think that'd be entertaining. And that would totally be a killer YouTube video. I'm just saying. People would be like, what did Tanner just do?
He was down. I'll give him this. He was.
Well,
he was down.
he told us he used to actually like go look for Bigfoot, like because he lives in Washington State, where it's really big. So Washington State obviously is like #1 in sightings. But I mean, I know people who have seen Bigfoots, and you want to believe them. I've never seen one. I've had stuff happen, but I've never seen one, so I can't tell you for sure if they're real or not. But
it's gonna happen when the camera's not rolling. Always happens.
Yeah. What I mean, do you believe in Bigfoot? That's a question.
I believe in everything. Everything.
That's a nice way around it, isn't it?
If you can think of something, it exists. Otherwise, where did it come from? Right?
Man,
if you can think something,
that's about as deep as we've ever gotten on here.
That is.
Welcome to my brain. If someone has thought of it, it exists. Right? Like there's a reason it's there. So there's a reason people talk about Bigfoot, and that Santa existed at one point. I don't know if he flew. He might have flew. I don't know. That's for you to debate, but very possible.
You know, it is very interesting how, like, we're talking obviously about a lot of different things. It's all starts with auto racing, and I for one am one that always finds it because I grew up in the sport, so I don't understand how other people don't see what I see in the sport. And do you? It seems like the East Coast is a lot different in those terms. There's a lot more tracks, or at least there were. I mean, there's obviously like everywhere the tracks closing down, but and you still get good crowds almost everywhere you go.
Yep.
So the odd racing is still really strong out there. Do you find? How am I trying to ask it? Do you find where it's a thing where it's still kind of looked down on, or if it's more accepted?
Well, I do not surround myself with people that look down. So I am. We're getting deep. I'm all about the energy. And as long as you have confidence and belief in what you love and you enjoy, then either they're going to be attracted to it and they're not. And if they're not, well, they aren't meant to be my friend. Right?
Yeah.
Like I don't have one friend that has never been to a race before and did not love it. And I mean, I brought plenty, and maybe they only went to one race. But they still really enjoyed it. So it's I want to say no. I mean, I feel like we've come a long way from being redneck racers. Definitely come a long way, because the day and age we're in, when it costs you $200 some just for a right rear, makes you want to question your sanity. But I don't know. I think we've come a long way, and it's a different ballpark. Unfortunately, in a bad sense, we've come a long way in a good way, but we've come a long way where a lot of money has to be involved. It's not just the 80s where it was the racer is the one that wins the race. It's the car, it's the money put into it. Like, it's a different ballpark this time and period. So I would say there's more money involved than ever, really.
Oh, there's way more. Yeah, it's just I don't know where the sport goes. I mean, at the grassroots level, and there's so many different headwinds. We don't have enough time to talk about them all, but um, things that we've never faced from outside the sport, pressures that aren't within the sport, that we're starting to face. But it is, you look at different series like the Speedster series, which I know everybody in your family's run them, pretty much. I mean, and Tobias has done a great job with that. And they're trying to keep that grassroots racing alive where it doesn't cost you so much to get into it.
Yep.
It's just, I don't know. I mean, that these walls are starting to get higher and higher and higher, these entry barriers for at least the types of sports I love, type of auto racing I love. It's going to be really interesting to see where it goes in the next 10 years.
Absolutely. I mean, there was a really big paying sportsman race up here the other week, and a modified guy won it. And I'm like, come on, really? Like, New Egypt, there used to be a rule like if we raced modifieds, we couldn't race below. We were not allowed to, which I think to an extent is fair. Like, leave some pickings to some other drivers. However, I hate continuing to bring up, I just try to like forget 2020, but like, I think 2020 was a wake-up call for us that like there are outside forces that can shut us down.
Yeah.
That are out of our control. And perfect example is Grandview Speedway. I mean, I don't know the full facts, but there's a huge company out there that all of a sudden just offers Grandview Speedway like $4 million or some dollars to buy the place.
Like Copart or something like that, right?
Yes. They're going after every track possible. It's sickening. Just whatever. But Grandview, they have diehards every weekend. The 76er this weekend, I guarantee, is going to be packed because they think this track is closing. I say think because we're going to stay positive and Copart falls through, right? But people will tear tracks down. People won't show up. People will complain. But there's only so many tracks that we have. And whether we like Matt Shepard winning every race or Brent Marks winning every race or Jonathan Davenport, like as much as we hate it, like it's the day and age that we're living in right now, and we have to support it no matter what, because Grandview Speedway, no one ever thought that place would be a track to close, and it can happen.
Yeah, and it's crazy. Their business model is they're going around offering all these tracks that are, all over the country, who are kind of, I wouldn't say not making it, but it just, it's hard. I mean, you know that, and you know it better than I do.
Yeah.
And so they're saying, hey, you can get out now. We'll give you so much cash, you can just leave now. And it's just like, because they figure the ground's already, it's already a situation where the EPA is not going to really say anything because the ground was a racetrack.
Mm-hmm.
So, and plus they're typically giant areas. I mean, I don't know, 40, 60 acres.
Yep.
Or more. And it's just, it's like, wow. And, it's a company that sponsored auto racing. That's the crazy part. And then they're just helping. Now they're saying, well, you look to be struggling here. Let me give you a little bit.
Yeah, it's greedy, but I don't know. I for Grandview, it's sad because it's the family built that track. It's always been in the Rogers name for as long as it's been there. And their grandfather and their great grandfather built that track. And to walk away is kind of startling, but a family can only take so much abuse of racing.
Right.
Let me tell you what, you guys know it. Like, you can try and win everyone over and you're still going to piss people off no matter what. And, maybe it's time for them to walk away. But then there's tracks that I was told one of the tracks up here in New York was offered a deal through Copart, and they turned it down. They're like, no, we want to keep our racetrack. And it's like, well, good for you for actually like, what sane person wouldn't take a couple $1 million, but Racing is a catch-22 because there is money to be made, but it's a gamble every year.
It is absolutely, it's a gamble on every level.
Yeah.
From, I mean, the track workers don't get paid a lot to the teams. Rarely do you run across races that help cover, really your bills and so and the owners, obviously, if there's a rain out or something or whatever, they take a beating that night. And yeah, I don't know, man. I mean, obviously it's a subject we can talk for hours on, and I don't want to bog the show down, but it's rough.
That's why I'm always saying support your local racetrack. You never know.
Absolutely.
Even if as much tiff has gone on with my family at New Egypt, I would never want to see it closed ever.
Right.
Like, drama happens, stuff happens, life goes on, but yeah, I would never publicly tear down a racetrack like on social media because it does you no good.
I agree with that. I have criticized before, but I would never wish any racetrack to go out of business. I mean, there are some tracks that just sometimes they got to get their act together. I mean, some of these tracks, and I don't know what's like out there, and probably New Jersey, it's not that bad, but there's some of these tracks around here you go to, man, they are so unsafe.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
Man, it's just, somebody has to say something, about that. But
yeah, no, I agree. I agree. I mean, I made a comment. Oh, I made a comment about on Twitter. I was so pissed off, but I never would say like, "Oh, Bridgeport sucks, burn in hell." Right now, I made a comment about people smoking in the stands. Oh, that's a whole nother topic. And I'll say it, like, most tracks are awesome with me and they do give me a pass, right? Like, I will give them any content they want. I work with them and super grateful for that. Like, they recognize the work that I do. I love it. But this one track gave me such a hard time. And I finally got down to it. And he was like, "Well, I really didn't appreciate that you posted on Twitter about people smoking, blah, 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 blah." I'm like, "It wasn't your track, but thanks for assuming." And he's like, "Well, there are different promoters these days that, I forget how he said it. They take their job very seriously. And we would rather have, criticism or comments to be brought to our attention before publicly putting it out there." I was like, okay, if I have a problem with your track, I will absolutely let you know first. But as you just said, Scott, there are tracks that really need a kick in the butt because no matter what you tell them, they're not going to listen.
No, you are spot on.
Yep.
Absolutely spot on.
Yeah.
The only thing I have left, well, first off, I know you're involved with a lot of stuff outside of racing. I want to give you an opportunity to kind of talk about everything that you're involved with. And, I know you're involved with businesses and stuff. So if people, work with you or whatever, like, just give you a moment to kind of talk about that.
Thanks. Well, I'm a plant person. Do you guys like my plants, by the way? Thanks.
Yeah.
Thanks.
They provide oxygen in life.
They do. Yes. Besides a plant person, this is my new hobby outside of racing. It's great. They survive when I'm gone for a week. But no, thank you for, letting me plug. So I have my public relations business. I work with a lot of manufacturers, companies. I've worked with tracks, all kinds of stuff like that. I still have that. Obviously, I do my YouTube. I do network marketing with Arbonne. So what I love is everything is through online, guys. Everything is, as much as I hate social media sometimes, I try to use it as a force for good. And so what I love with my my health and wellness business is I get to help people at the races like live a healthier lifestyle. I've got promoters, track owners, crew, race car drivers. As you guys know, is we live a busy nonstop lifestyle and it's really hard for us to take care of ourselves. So I like to help them find a healthy habit, healthy routine, something that really balances them So they are, they get their vitamins, they get their nutrients, and they're really able to work at peak performance. I mean, my brother and Mike, they are my go-tos. If you see them eating ice cream or chicken fingers, I was not there. But usually they're really good with it. So I really enjoy that. What I love with all the different businesses that I have is they all tie back to racing. So like I have women race car drivers, I have wives, people outside of racing that I work with my network marketing business, but majority of it are in racing. And for me, it's a great opportunity to help, wives bring in extra income so they can be with their husband at the track. They don't have to worry about taking off, right? So I've built to where I am, where I can just pick up my computer, take it with me. I make money wherever I am. I help people remotely, and it allows me to bring everything that I bring to all of you guys. So it's great. It's genius. I love it. It's a lot, but I'm here still kicking.
And lastly, what would be your biggest piece of advice for anyone who may want to start a YouTube channel? I mean, become like a social media influencer, anything like that. What would be your biggest piece of advice?
Just start. Same thing like we said earlier. It's all trial and error, and not to overthink. Social media is so filtered, and people use literally filters, and social media people like to use it as what's a good word I'm looking for? Their highlight reel, right? A lot of people use social media as a highlight reel. They never show the downs, the negatives. And I try to show that. I mean, I don't want to be negative. I like to try to inspire people and motivate people and get people to do stuff that they really want to do. But there are hard times and there are bad days, and it's okay to show that. And I think as long as you have a goal, that's what I tell every person, everyone that comes up to me, they're like, I want to start a YouTube channel. I was like, well, what's your goal? They kind of look at me, they're like, to create videos. And I'm like, cool. Hey, why? What's your goal? Like I told you guys, I want to support our sport. I want to show people, I want them to have a deeper appreciation for all that we do to get to the track, to win those races, to lose those races. And some people are like, well, I just like what you do. And I'm like, that's cool, but you can do what I do, but you need a goal, right? You need a reason why you're doing it. Like there's a reason why you guys do this podcast, other than like you guys like to bond over Bigfoot. I don't know. There's
it's not that. I can promise you that.
I don't think that's the purpose of the podcast, but you just need a reason and a goal, not to just, grow yourself. Usually it's if you're bringing value to people, that's the biggest thing. People don't want to go on social media and be envious and jealous of the insane, amazing lifestyle that you have. They want to feel good. And if you can leave people feeling good, it's going to leave a mark, and it's going to inspire them, and it's going to motivate them, and it's going to attract them to you and whatever it is that you're offering. So that's my 2 cents.
Well, it's funny. We talked about doing this podcast. Actually, the seeds of it were planted years ago. When I had the shop, we would have people come in and out of the shop, different racers, owners, whoever. And I had this stool, and I don't know what I did with the stool now, but I had this stool that was always there. It was just like a step stool. And people would just pull up on that step stool, whether it was Johnny Caples or Tim Clausen or Ted Hines, or whoever it is that come through the door, Antron Brown, and we'd talk, and we'd just talk. And the seeds were really planted in, and especially after talking to Antron one day. I've told the story before, but my mom really liked him. My mom worked at the shop, because almost all racing is family business, right? And mom worked at the shop with me. She thought, man, he was such a great guy. And that always stuck with me. And the reason I wanted to do this show is because I'd get to talk to not only those people, but people like yourself. And the 360 of the sport. I love the 360 of the sport. I love videographers, photographers. We just had on a gentleman who had done a lot of liveries for cars over the years, and just the whole encompassment of the sport is what I love about it. And so it gives us an opportunity to talk, like I said, to someone like yourself. And I honestly, I don't care if anybody watches. To be very honest, I don't mean that in a bad way. It gives us a door to where we can walk through and just speak to all these different people.
I like that. Yeah, I think I really like these type of podcasts because it brings diversity and it shows the different type of people that are involved in racing. And I mean, there's so many different topics and things you can cover, but who would have known that Aaron likes Bigfoot, right?
Here we go. Right.
We're just going to keep plugging it. Like, I'm sure I said some stuff in here that I probably shouldn't have said, but it's okay. No one watches this, right, Scott?
That's
Kidding.
why our numbers not very many, but that's all right though.
Kidding.
We will be that underground band that everybody talks about how great they are, but nobody ever goes and sees them.
Happens. Eventually, you're gonna go.
Well, we just, to be fair, we've done this for about a year, and our numbers have grown a lot since.
Oh, it's a joke, man.
We're actually
poor Aaron does all the work, and I shit over everything.
But no, we're actually doing a live. We're doing a live show starting in a couple weeks now.
Tuesday 27th. Tuesday the 27th will be at McGilvery's doing a live show.
I don't know if the show will be out before then, but we're still plugging it.
Not?
Should plug it. Yeah, absolutely.
But no, thank you so much for coming on, and it was definitely, you're someone we wanted to interview for a while. So yeah, no, thank you. I enjoy the videos and really enjoyed speaking with you and talking about Bigfoot and everything else.
Ghosts of Bigfoot and racing, man. Where else you gonna find all that? There is no other podcast. I guarantee you right now, you're finding the entire gamut like that.
Yeah, and let me tell you, it's a lot of podcasts. There's dry personalities, but you two make a very good combination. So I appreciate you both for having me on, and it was comfortable that the conversation just flowed, and it was fantastic, and that's what people love. So.
I want to thank you so much for coming on. I've had so much respect for obviously your family for a very long time. I've known, obviously, even though we never really raced in the same circles, obviously, you'd have to live under a rock if you're in racing, you don't know who your dad is or your brothers. First time I heard anybody ever talk about your brother was Brian Koblar's. He goes, hey Scott, I got Pouchy driving for me. I got Billy Pouchy driving for me.
Pouchy.
I like Brian. I haven't talked to Brian in years, but I really like Brian.
He's awesome. In case anyone's ever wondering, I always joke I'm gonna come out with a T-shirt because my dad's the kid. Poor my brother, he was named the kid's kid. I am the kid's other kid that no one knows about.
There you go.
Yes.
That's funny. Hey, speaking of that, do you do the design work on that, or you just do the ideas and you got other people do the design work? I always want to know how that worked on your T-shirts and all that.
So for majority, yes. My brother, he's kind of gone off, and which is fine. He does his own. But I usually design Mike's and my father's and mine. And then I don't actually, God, no, you're not going to print what I design. Okay. I dream it up and I send it to Bob Hilbert, and I'm like, make this. Please make this. And I actually just got Mike's newest shirts in for the fall, and I designed it to the T. But again, if I showed you my rough draft, it's like a kindergarten kind of, I have the program, but it's not, they know how to do it right. But yeah, that's another thing. I love designing. So I really enjoy doing that.
Yeah. I thought you've had some great T-shirts, just the different ones I've seen. But yeah, so anyway, thank you so much. I have so much respect for your family. I enjoy your videos, and thank you so much for your time.
appreciate it. Thank you guys for having me on. Looking forward to seeing, the numbers spike for my bikini thumbnail picture.
That's right.
Aaron's like, what just happened?
Well, yeah, we'll test that thumbnail theory with this episode.
Free game. Go right ahead, guys. No shame. No shame. You got to get the views. All right.
That's funny.
Thank you for having me on. Hopefully, our paths will cross here at the races sometime soon. So.
Yeah, hopefully.
Hey, remember, big footing with racers.
I'll do part 2. You do someone. I'll do the second round. Make sure they survive, and then I'll do the second.
Survive.
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
sounds
All
good.
Right.